Hello everyone, it's Parisha from The Artistic Scroll, and in today's Procreate tutorial, we're creating this magical ice cream illustration. This tutorial is the second in my August series, Late Summer Magic, which is all about dreamy summer vibes, little seasonal treasures, and just a touch of magic. There are lots of fun textures and details to play with in this one, and we'll be illustrating different kinds of ice cream, a waffle cone, wafers, and hazelnut toppings before bringing everything together with this soft, peachy background and little wisps of magic. We'll also look at how to work with all of these different colors and textures while still making the finished illustration feel cohesive, rather than like lots of separate elements put together. So before we get started, here's what you'll be needing to follow along: your iPad and Apple Pencil, the Procreate app, and the sketch and color palette for this tutorial, both of which you can download from the Artistic Archive, which is my free library of sketches and palettes for all my YouTube tutorials. The link to the archive is in the description below, so check it out, sign up for free, download those goodies, and let's get started. Welcome guys, so this is what your canvas should look like once you've downloaded it from the Artistic Archive, and as you can see, we've got the sketch here already on layer 1. So let's go ahead and rename this as Sketch. And then we're just going to tap on N here, which brings up your blend mode menu. And then we can change it to multiply and reduce the opacity down to about 10 to 12%. And this will help us be able to see our sketch better when we add more layers below the sketch layer. Okay, so we're going to change the color palette menu as well. So select the ice cream color palette menu, which you should have downloaded from the Artistic Archive as well. So set it as active, and then just move the menu to the left. Okay, so now we're ready to get started with adding all of our flat colors. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a new layer below the sketch layer. And in this layer, we're just going to fill the background color. You can also do the same thing on your background color if you want to change that, but I like just creating an extra layer. So we're going to select this very first color that we have in the first row and just drag it in. And that fills up our background with this beautiful peach color. So we're going to get started with adding in all of these different elements of the ice cream in different layers. So let's get started with that. Let's create a new layer above our background, and then we're going to select this first color swatch in the second row, which is this orangish color. So for our brush, we're going to go to inking and select the technical pen brush. And let's go ahead and just paint in the cone. And then just remember to close your shape and fill it in. Now you'll notice that obviously we've got these curved diagonal lines here from the waffle pattern of the cone. So I would like to be able to bring out the pattern a bit more and make it look a slightly bit more realistic. So to be able to do that, we're just going to create little bumps like this. Not much, but just little bumps. So imagine that the pattern, this little bump, is the ending of this line coming out on top. All right? So let's do that for all of these little lines here. And remember that they will have to follow whatever ending they are on. So if this line is going like this, so it's going to probably end like that. So follow the line and create little bumps. And if you're curious about my brush size, it's somewhere around 11%. It really depends because the technical pen is more of a pressure brush. So the more pressure that I put on it, the bigger the size of whatever is being painted comes out. But if I put just a slight pressure, it'll be small. So it's a very pressure-oriented brush, so really you'll just have to see how much pressure you put, and even with an 11% you can get a larger area covered with this paintbrush too, and a smaller one too. So it really depends on how you use it. So have fun and experiment with this. Yeah, so all of these have been created. So next thing we're going to do is paint the chocolate ice cream. So we're going to create a new layer And then we're going to go to the chocolate color. So this is the brown color in the second row. And this first scoop is going to be our chocolate scoop. Well, these are the colors that I am going with. Feel free to experiment with whatever flavors you want. You'll have to see what colors you can come up with, and I think it should be a fun thing to experiment. But maybe for the first round, just follow up and see how to do all of the textures and everything, and then definitely experiment with your own versions of the flavors. That should be really cool to see. I'd really like to see that. Okay, so that's our chocolate one. So next we're going to create a new layer. This will be above the cone layer but below the chocolate. So you can see it's behind the chocolate but it's still above the cone. So we'll create a new layer here between the two. And then with the pink color, the third color swatch in the second row, let's go ahead and paint in this strawberry color. So as you can see, I am moving the canvas around quite a bit. It's quite useful and handy to be able to do that, as it gives you a lot of room to move around, just like you would with normal paper as well. Yeah. Okay, so just these 3 droplets, and that's good. Okay, next part, we've got the Softie part of the ice cream. So again, this is now behind the strawberry ice cream scoop as well. So let's create a new layer below the strawberry one. And then we're going to select the white color in the second row. And let's paint in the Softie. There we go. That's looking nice. Alright, next what we're going to do is paint in all of our toppings. So we've got hazelnuts here on the chocolate ice cream. We've got these wafers here as well. So we'll start with the hazelnuts on the chocolate ice cream. So since they're on top of the chocolate scoop, we're going to create a new layer above it. And then for the base color, we're going to select the straw yellow kind of color, the first color in the third row. And then let's just go ahead and paint these. Try and have less rounded edges for these because imagine them as chopped nuts in a way, isn't it? So they might have some rounded edges, but it's not going to be perfectly spherical or anything like that. Okay, so that's looking good. I might add a couple more actually. I feel like it might be nice. They're not really there on the sketch. So yeah, you might want to add some more as well. So if you want more toppings on your ice cream scoops, feel free to add some more. I think that's good enough. Okay, next we're going to work on the wafers. Now you'll notice that there are 2 layers of these wafers here as well. There's one right here between the chocolate and the chocolate strawberry and the Softie as well. So this one. And then both of these other ones are behind the Softie. So we're going to do this in 2 layers here. Okay, so the first one is going to be, let's say, in front of the Softie. So let's create a new layer there. And then again with the same color as we have for the hazelnuts, we're going to go ahead and paint that in as well. Okay, so there's only one here. And one more thing that we can do is, because it's got a nice pattern to it as well, you can imagine that these are those chocolate wafers. So we create a new layer above our base layer here and make it a clipping mask. Now because we've made it a clipping mask, it means that whatever we paint on this new layer basically that we've created will only be on this wafer here, which is why it's a clipping mask. So let's go ahead and try that out. We want a little bit of a textured edge as well, so we'll do something special for this one. So for this chocolate side of the wafer, we're going to use this darker, more saturated brown. So this second swatch in the third row. And we're just going to go ahead and paint in this nice chocolate section. Now, as you can see, we've used the clipping mask, so whatever we draw is only restricted to the wafer. That is exactly what I meant. It's not coming out on any other side of the layer. Okay, so that's good. Now, for the texture side, let's go ahead and see, maybe we can use the ink bleed brush here in inking. And I've got a brush size of about 5%. We're just going to roughly add in, just along the edges, a bit of a trim. So you can see we've got a nice textured kind of an outline already, and that is just all that we really want for texture, at least for now, for the wafers. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing now for these two ones as well. So we'll create a new layer behind the Softie, so below that. And let's go back to our technical pen brush and the same straw yellow color as before, and paint in the base. And also this one. Alright, and we're going to repeat the same step of adding in a clipping mask and using the saturated brown color for the chocolate. Alright, and once again, just use the ink bleed brush along the edges to give that nice textured outline. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And yeah, we're done with all of our flat colors now. So next we're going to be working on this chocolate scoop. So let's create a clipping mask to this, and we're going to change the blend mode of this layer to multiply because we're adding in shadows now. We want to not have any kind of line art on this illustration, so we're depending on highlights and shadows to do all of our outline work, basically. So to be able to distinguish each of these objects from the other. And that's what we do in real life as well. Light does everything for us. Okay, so we're going to select the same color as the base of the chocolate scoop. So you can either just hold your finger on the screen and that can pick up the color, or you can just go back to the color palette, and this was the second swatch in the second row. So for our brush, we are going to use, in airbrushing, the medium hard airbrush. Okay, and my brush size currently is about, I'd say 23%, and I've got an opacity of about 66%. And let's keep that, okay? Because the opacity of this brush is what is important here. It allows you to build up the color rather than have a smear like that. It allows you to just build it up softly. And as you can see, it's got a nice, strong edge as well. Well, not as strong as a hard brush, but medium hard is much better than a soft brush. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm going to reduce the brush size a bit more to about 14%. For now, we're just going to go ahead and paint in just the outline part and just build it up softly. This little texture that we're trying to bring in as well with the brush strokes here, with the medium hard airbrush, we're just trying to build this in softly and just about the edges. Not too much, don't go right up around here. We'll leave that because we don't want it to be too similar in color to the chocolate side of the wafer, but just about this much for now. And I'd say enough to be able to distinguish this scoop from what is melting down here. Now we're going to go ahead and blend things up a bit. Okay, so use the soft airbrush for your blend tool as well. And I would increase the brush size to however is comfortable for you. I think about 13% or so should be fine. And just lightly blend in just the inner sides of this shadow part that you have created, so that you kind of have a bit more of a textured border. And just drag in some of this color so it gives off a little nicer kind of an effect as well. A more of a gradient of a shadow, but still retaining some of that brush stroke shadow too. Okay, I'm going to reduce the opacity of this layer slightly down to about, really depends now how much you really blended this out. So for now, I think for me, I'm going to keep it to about 75%. I don't want it to be too dark. You can always zoom out and see if it's too much or too little. But I would keep it to about, actually, let's bring it down to 60%, and then we're going to build up over it with the same thing. So this is why we have this brush as well. It's a nice thing to be able to practice. Yeah. Okay, so roughly we've added in some shadows around the main scoop and what's melted. Okay, and then we're going to, with the same brush again, reduce the brush size now to about 7% or so. Actually, you can reduce it a bit more, about 5%. And then you see all of these lines that we've got here. They're all the grooves that have naturally occurred when you're scooping out the ice cream. Okay, so we're going to just paint in these as well, just lightly. And because our brush size is small already, this is going to be a bit more opaque than the rest of the scoops. Sorry, the rest of the area. And then you can enhance the shadows on some of these other areas as well. Now, let's go ahead and blend one side only. Leave the other side as it is, because that's going to give us a crisper outline. And just on one side, blend it slightly so it looks like a little pit. It's looking nice. You can continue adding in some more shadows. Don't go overboard at this stage, but because you've got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of elements to this little ice cream. Okay, and then for the last bit, we're just going to add in the shadows behind, casted by the hazelnuts on the scoop as well. So these will be placed a little randomly, but all behind the hazelnuts. Just like that. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. Next, we're going to add in our highlights now. So create a new clipping mask and then change the blend mode to screen. And now we're going to use this lighter brown color in, so this is the first color in the fourth row, to add in our highlights, because we want our highlights to be a little bit lighter in comparison to, lighter and less saturated than the base color of the chocolate that we have so far. So now we're just going to go ahead and add in our highlights with the same medium hard airbrush once again. And we'd want our highlights to be lying more on the top surface of the ice cream than everywhere. so focus more there. And then of course we're going to also put some highlights around the pits that we have here and around this lower area too. This is not an incredibly shiny, glossy kind of a texture, so we're going for smoother, softer highlights, which is why we've also gone for screen rather than add as the blend mode. Kind of helps. So now that you've got something like this in place, we're going to go ahead and blend it all in. But just enough blending, again with the soft airbrush, that you kind of have the texture of the brush stroke still visible. Feel free to play around with your brush size for the blending. Currently I'm on about 7%. Okay, so remember to zoom out as well and have a look if you're happy with how it is looking. I think it's looking like more natural brown, at least for chocolate ice creams, than something that would be a whole lot more saturated and bright. Okay, so that's great. I would actually erase a little bit here because I think it's just too much. It's not necessary to have that much of a highlight here. Yeah. Okay, so that's great. Next we're going to add in a bit more textures. So create a new clipping mask. Actually, let's create it above the base. So right above the base chocolate layer, create a clipping mask and then change the blend mode to multiply. And we're going to go to charcoals and then select the 6B compressed brush. We're going to be using this brush for almost all of our textures, if not all, on this ice cream. So again, we're going to use the same color that we have so far, the base of the chocolate color. So go ahead and use that, and then we're going to paint in a nice broad texture here. My brush size is about 24%, and you can just add this in roughly like that. Okay, so that's looking good. You can reduce the opacity of this layer down to about, I'd say 60% or so. I'd go up to 65. It really depends on how dark you have painted in your textures, so have a look and see what looks nice. And now we're also going to repeat this step to add in some highlight textures as well. Okay, so let's go back to a screen clipping mask now, a new screen clipping mask right above the multiply texture clipping mask. And then I would just rotate the canvas a bit so we don't fall in having the same kind of texture in the same areas. And this time I would say for the highlight textures, try and concentrate them more on the top. That's it. Okay, and then you can reduce the opacity down as well to whatever looks good. I think about 55% is looking good for now. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, so we're done with the chocolate ice cream scoop for now. We'll be coming back to add in more shadows and a little bit more of highlights later on once we have the entire ice cream ready in a way. Okay, so let's go ahead and group all of our chocolate layers together now before we move on to the strawberry group. So we're going to rename this as chocolate and then create a clipping mask to the strawberry group. And then we're going to just go ahead and change the blend mode of this new layer to multiply, pick the pink color, and then we're going to go back to the medium hard brush and add in our shadows just the same way that we did for the chocolate one. So once again, see what's comfortable for you for the brush size. I've got an 11% brush size right now, and I'm building in this soft shadow part here. And this time we want the shadows of the chocolate scoop to be falling onto the strawberry scoop here. This entire tutorial is going to be a bit of a tongue twister for me, so please bear with me. Okay, so the strawberry ice cream scoop, we're just going to paint in our shadows for that. But it's also getting shadows from the chocolate one and on its own as well. So we have to make it a bit of a 3D form. So imagine it something like this. Right, and then we're going to go ahead and blend things as well with the soft airbrush, just slightly on the top. Right, then I'm going to add a clipping mask and then paint in some more shadows, and especially the pitch shadows that we have here. So create a new clipping mask and change the blend mode to multiply. And we're going to enhance the shadows now. Some of them behind the chocolate ice cream, as you can see. And then this distinguishing line between the scoop and what's melting. And then we're also going to go ahead and add in these pit shadows. I don't know what to call them really. I'm just calling them pit because that's what they look like to me. If you do know what they're called, grooves, pit, let me know in the comments below, please. Okay, so that's that. And then just going to blend these outer edges of these pits very slightly. Again, soft brush, because we don't want them to be just standing there like a line. We want them to blend in with the surroundings slightly to look like part of the area. Maybe continue some of this darker color onto the lower side of this ice cream as well. Okay, much better. Alright, next we're going to add in our highlights. So once again, use this green clipping mask. And again with the medium hard airbrush, once more we are adding in highlights just to the top part of this ice cream with the same color, same pink color. And then go ahead and blend this as well. Okay, so that's looking nice. Alright, I'm going to reduce the opacity of this layer slightly down to about 80%. And that's good. We're going to add in our texture now, so create a new clipping mask above the base and then change the blend mode to multiply like before, like for the chocolate one, and then once more we're going to go back to our 6B compressed brush in charcoals. With the same pink color, go ahead and add in your texture. That is really dark for mine, so I'm going to reduce the opacity quite a bit here, down to about 60%. Yours might have been lighter, so you can reduce the opacity a little lesser, and that's completely okay. Now once more, we're going to add in the screen highlights as well, so the lighter highlights. Again with the same textured brush, the 6B charcoal, just add in very lightly on the top part your textures. I'm just going to blend the lower one a bit because I don't want it to be so bright. And I'm also going to reduce the opacity down to about 75%. Okay, it's looking nice. Alright, so we are done with the strawberry one as well. Let's group our layers together and then rename this as strawberry. Alright, we're going to work on the Softie now. So create a new clipping mask on the Softie layer, and then once again we're starting with the shadows. So create a new clipping mask and change the blend mode to multiply. And then we're going to go ahead and select this, let's say light gray. It's like a very desaturated white. There's no other way to say this. Yeah, so this is the second color in the fourth row. And we are going to go back to the medium hard airbrush in airbrushing, and then go ahead and paint in shadows with this darker ivory color or gray color, or light gray, darker ivory, whatever you might call it. So we're adding in our shadows for each of these swirl layers, as you can see. Okay. And it's looking nice already. It's giving a nice textured kind of an appearance, which is why I really like this brush. Okay, so once you've got something like this in place, you're going to blend just the top parts slightly, not too much. And don't worry, we'll be adding in some more shadows in a minute. This is just the first layer. Okay, so that's good. Alright, we're going to paint in our highlights first. So create a new clipping mask and then change the blend mode this time to color dodge. Then we'll be painting in our highlights on the opposite sides of our shadows on each of the swirl layers. And then once more, just go ahead and blend. Okay, that's looking good. We can actually turn off our sketch layer and have a look. How much do we really need to be painting in our shadows to be able to distinguish these swirls a little bit more? So I would say we can create a new clipping mask now and then change the blend mode to multiply, and then just deepen the shadows a little bit more. And you can see that these wafers would also be casting a shadow, at least the front one. So let's add in shadow here on top of this wafer, just like that. And then enhance the base ones a bit more. And then we're just going to blend in only the tops. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. Yeah, we're good with that. Let's add in some texture now to the Softie as well. So to do that, once more, we're going to go back to the base and create a new clipping mask. Change the blend mode to multiply. Go back to our 6B compressed charcoal here in charcoal's brush. And then with the same color, we'll be painting in our texture. Now this really shows up quite a lot. So feel free to reduce the opacity slightly of this layer. I bring mine down to about 60%. And we're going to create another layer once more, paint in our screen highlights. And this time, reduce your brush size to about 10% or so and just paint in your highlight textures on each of the swirls on the top. Okay, that's looking good. Alright, so we're done with all of our Softie layers as well for now. Let's group all of these together and then rename this as Softie. Okay. Great. So next we're going to be working on these toppings. So we'll start off with the hazelnut ones first. So for the hazelnuts, we're going to be adding in our shadows and highlights to these as well. But because imagine that these are chopped nuts in a way, isn't it? So they'll be having angles to themselves, quite sharp angles. So we're going to recreate that here. So create a new clipping mask and then change the blend mode to multiply. So clipping mask to the hazelnuts layer and multiply blend mode. Then we're going to go back to our airbrushing and this time just select the soft airbrush. We're going to reduce our brush size to about 6% or so and then go ahead and pick the hazelnut color. Okay, and then paint in. This is a bigger brush size. I would go back down to about 3% or so. That gives you a very sharp brush to be able to play with. So paint in your edges here. You can see I've got sharp angles like that. Now you don't have to follow mine exactly. Just imagine that your own hazelnuts here would have different angles where the lights are falling. I would just say that they need to look a little realistic, so try and follow the shape of the hazelnut that you're trying to create here. Just like that maybe. Okay, so that's looking good. Now, what we're going to do is reduce the opacity of this layer down to about 50%. Okay, we're going to duplicate this layer now. And in this duplicated layer, we're going to erase some parts. Now, the part that we're going to erase is basically going to be the one that is in more light. Now imagine where the light source is coming from. It's coming from somewhere. It's basically behind the ice cream and it's also coming from on top. So accordingly, see where you would need to place your shadows. So instead of having to actually paint an entire edge again, we've just gone ahead and erased these. You could have just painted these in separate layers as well. It would have been the same thing. I've just saved you a step of having to create an additional layer and keep all of them within the same lines as well. So just a quicker way of doing these shadows. Okay, so we've got something like this and it's already looking so much more 3D in a way. Okay, that's great. I'm just going to go ahead and erase this slightly because I don't want these to be too much. Alright, so once these are done, we're going to add in some highlights. And to do that, create a new clipping mask on top. And then change the blend mode to screen. Again, your hazelnuts are not going to be very super shiny, so we're going with screen instead of add. And then again with the same color so far, which was this base hazelnut color, and the soft air brush, which is going to paint in some highlights. So highlights are going to be just on the lightest part of the hazelnuts. Alright, so that's looking pretty nice. We don't really need to go ahead and reduce the opacity of this. I think it's looking nice as it is. Okay, and then finally we're just going to add in a slight texture as well. So create a new clipping mask above the base, change the blend mode to multiply, and go back to the 6B compressed brush. Well, actually you can go to a 4B compressed brush for this one because it's going to be milder in appearance. Reduce the brush size to about 3% or so, and then just paint in your little texture. Okay, and we can reduce the opacity of this layer down to about 55% or so. And it's almost turned out as if it's just a color change really, so that works too. Okay, group our hazelnut layers together because we are done with them. And then rename this group as hazelnuts. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So the next thing we're going to be working on would be the two wafers. Okay, so we're going to work on both of these wafer layers together. So I'm going to turn the sketch layer back on, and we're going to create new clipping masks to both of them. Change their blend modes to multiply. Okay, so let's start with the front one first, and then we're going to use the soft air brush, and we'll use the same base straw yellow color that we've got so far. And for this step, we are just painting in this depth that we have. For this particular wafer. Okay, and then we're going to go to the second layer of wafers as well, and then paint depth here as well, and also this edge. So this one right here. Alright, so that's looking good. We're going to reduce the opacity of both of these layers down to about 75%. Great, and now we're going to add in general shadows. Right, so create a new clipping mask to both of them. And then starting with the front one, by general shadows, I mean that we're going to be following their form. So shadow like this on the cylindrical side, and then some shadow on the inside as well. And then we're going to blend it with the Softie brush, just the outer edge of the circular one, and also the same for here, for the longer one, the vertical one I mean. Okay, let's repeat the same thing with the back wafers now. So inner layer first, and then just quickly blend it in. And then paint in the vertical shadow. Okay, so that's looking nice already. We're going to paint in the shadows for this one as well. Okay, that's looking good. Then we're going to go ahead and add in our highlights to both of these layers. So create clipping masks and change the blend modes to to screen for both of them. Okay. Right. We're going to start with the front one first. We're just adding in a soft highlight to the opposite side of our shadow. And a very slight highlight around the edge. Right, let's go to the back layer now. Highlights, slightly blend, and then top highlight. Okay, and then also on this curved one, so the highlight for this one is more on the edge and just on the top. Okay, that's looking nice. Next we're going to be painting in the textures. So once again, right above this brown color wafer layer, we're going to be adding in the texture. So create a new clipping mask above that, change the blend mode to multiply, and then use the charcoal brush, the 6B compressed charcoal brush. Same color, once more. Go ahead and paint in your texture. Looks very crumbly and nice. Exactly what we want. You can also just use the brown color to paint in the crumbly texture on the brown wafer part as well, because the gold part isn't dark enough. Okay, that's good. And then repeat the same thing on the back wafer layer. Create a new clipping mask above the pattern, the brown pattern. Change the blend mode to multiply. And then with the yellow color, paint in the general texture on both of these. And then just on the brown part, use the darker brown color and paint that. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Okay, so last step, we're just going to add in the highlight textures as well, the same way. So create a new clipping mask, change the blend mode to screen, and I'm on the back wafer layer right now. So I'm going to just use the straw color again, add in the texture on the lighter side. Just like that. And then for the front wafer as well, above our multiply texture layer, create a new clipping mask, change the blend mode to screen, and then add the front wafer texture, the highlight texture. And that's looking wonderful. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and group our front wafer layers together and just call it front wafer, and then also for the back one, and rename that as back wafers. Okay, so let's get started on the cone now. So we're going to create a new clipping mask and then change the blend mode of this layer to multiply, because we're going to be adding some highlights and shadows to these lines and create a bit of a waffle pattern for the cone. Okay, so to do that, we're going to go to our medium hard airbrush and then select the same color as the cone, and then reduce your brush size to somewhere around 4% or so. And then all we're doing is just painting in shadows on these lines here. Basically starting from these little bumps and then proceeding down. So they're basically these shadows below the sketch lines. Okay, so once you've created these, we're going to just reduce the opacity of this layer down to about, let's say around 55%, depending on how opaque your lines are. You might need to reduce them a bit more, but this is all right for mine. So the next thing we're going to do is work on the highlights on the opposite sides of these shadows. So new clipping mask and then change the blend mode to screen. And then this time, with the same color, we're just adding highlights on the opposite side. Just make sure that when you're adding these, you're not really going on top of the shadow lines. Okay, so once you have made these, you can reduce the opacity of this layer depending again on how strong your highlights are. Mine aren't that strong, so I'm just keeping them to about 75%. You might need to reduce yours more or less, depending on your illustration. So next thing we're going to do is add in a bit more shadow to make this triangle of a cone more conical and let's say more of a 3D shape, okay? So to do that, create a clipping mask, change the blend mode to multiply, and then with the soft air brush, we're going to increase the brush size to about 20%. Go ahead and add in shadows with the same cone color. Make a bit of a U shape almost. That gives it a nice shadow. And then reduce your brush size to about 10% or so, and then add some stronger shadows right below the ice cream. Okay, then we're going to just blend it with the soft air brush. And then just make sure that you don't blend the ice cream shadows because we need them to be quite strong and sharp. You can blend these border shadows a bit more though. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. Alright, then we're going to create a new clipping mask to add in some highlights. So change the blend mode of this layer to screen and then paint in, increase your brush size to about 29% or so, and just on the top part paint in some highlight and go ahead and blend it again. Okay, that's looking nice. We're going to add some texture now, just like we did for the rest of the ice cream. So right above the base, create a new clipping mask and change the blend mode to multiply. And once again, we're going back to our 6B compressed brush in charcoals. And then go ahead and just paint in some of this texture to the cone. And then reduce the opacity as needed, depending on how strong your shadows are. I'll keep mine to around 60%. And then add in another clipping mask for the highlight textures. So change the blend mode to screen. And add in some highlights just to the top part. Okay, we're just going to reduce the opacity of this layer slightly as well. I'm going to reduce mine to about 65%, and that's looking pretty nice. Okay, so we're done with the cone here as well. Let's go ahead and group all of our cone layers together and rename this as cone. That's looking great. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and make this entire ice cream look a little bit more realistic by adding in some lilac kind of shadows in here. So we're going to enhance the shape of all of these scoops and the softie and everything as well. So it looks a little bit more realistic and a bit more 3D in a way. So to do that, let's go to our chocolate layer, chocolate group, create a new clipping mask on top, and then change the blend mode to multiply. Let's switch off our sketch layer now because that will really help for us to see where we are requiring some more shadows and boundaries as such. So we're going to return to our soft air brush now and then select this really light lilac color that we've got. So this is the third swatch in the fourth row, this one. We've selected that, and then we've got a brush size of about 30-31% or so. All we're doing at this point is just adding a light shadow over here, just so that it kind of feels a little bit more natural than a flat look that it was having before. So if you see what I mean, there is a difference right here. It's a little bit minimal, but it does cast a good impact on it, having this little shadow over here. Okay, so let's repeat the same thing on the strawberry one as well. New clipping mask on top. Change the blend mode to multiply. And then once again with the soft airbrush and the same light lilac color, we're adding a bit of a shadow of the chocolate ice cream onto the strawberry scoop, and then painting in some lilac shadow here. Okay. On this one, I'm just using the soft airbrush as the eraser, and then just slightly erasing this lower end here, and adding in some little bumps and texture, just erasing some of that shadow so that it feels like there is a bit more going on with these shadows, because the color difference is more obvious here than in the chocolate one. I think that looks nice. So if you delete that, you can see how, well, not delete as in just uncheck it, you can see the difference it makes with the realism. Alright, so we'll repeat that also with the Softie. So create a new clipping mask here on top, change the blend mode to multiply, and then once again with the same color and brush, we are adding in some shadows again, also to the wafer shadow and the scoops shadows. And then just at the lower edges. And then you can go ahead and blend this one a bit. I think we can add in a bit more, because it's giving a nice soft kind of a color here as well. A bit of a gradient rather than just white. So I would add a little bit more purple actually to this, the right side of the Softie. And then we'll just create a new clipping mask and change the blend mode to color dodge. So you can see, before I go ahead with this, you can see what I've really done to the multiply layer here for the Softie. I've added the shadows here on the wafer ones, and also in general on the right side of the Softie. So it gives a bit more of a unique kind of a shadow there as well. Okay, but with the highlights, same color. This time we can run these highlights individually on the swirls. So that gives it a softer look. And if you remove that, you can see the difference it makes. So it's looking pretty nice now. We've got a nice, more realistic kind of a look to our ice cream now, just because we've added these extra little shadows. And now what we're going to do is just add in some more lighting that would make it all look like it's part of one illustration as such, because right now we've got so many different colors coming in terms of our lighting. We've got all of these individual pinks and browns and cone color and this lilac as well. We've got all of these colors coming in, but we want to also make it look like it's coming from one light source as well. So the light source that we're going to use is basically this straw yellow color. So the first color in the third row, we'll be using that as our light source color. So to do that, we are also going to combine all of these groups into one layer. So let's do that. We'll duplicate all of our groups and flatten them. So we've duplicated the hazelnuts group, for example. We're going to tap on it and tap flatten, and then repeat the same thing with all of the groups. So for chocolate, we've duplicated it, flattened it, and then we're going to bring it up there. Okay? Same thing with strawberry, flatten, and bring it up. Front wafer, we've duplicated it and brought it up. Softie, duplicated, flattened, brought up. Back wafers, duplicated, flattened and brought up. And lastly, cone, duplicated, flattened and brought up. And now we can just merge all of these flattened layers together into one layer. This is just going to help ease our work without having to duplicate the entire canvas altogether. It's just helpful in a way. Okay, we can just turn off all of our group layers individually because we've got them all on just one layer now, as you can see. Okay, now we're just going to be painting in some shadows to this as well. So create a new clipping mask to this base flattened layer. Change the blend mode to multiply. And then again with the soft airbrush, increase your brush size to about 40-45%. And we're just going to paint in some overall shadow now. Don't worry, we'll be erasing areas as well because it is looking too yellow right now. So once you've painted in something like this, we can then go ahead and just erase some of these. Yes, because I definitely don't want it to be looking too yellow on the Softie area. And also it's nice to be having some sort of a color on the strawberry one, but I don't want it to be too much. So just erasing a little bit of it. You can erase a little bit of the cone as well. But now you can get to blending these. Just blend it all to still keep a little bit of the underlying color where possible. Because don't worry, we will be adding a little bit of a highlight as well. So you will be able to get some of the colors back. But this is again to make it look a lot more like one combined cohesive piece lit up by one source of light. So this step might require a little bit of back and forth. You might want to add some more color at some point, reduce it at another, and that's okay. Take your time with this. But yeah, once it's in place, it'll look something like this. So if you remove it, yes, it's looking nice, but it's still looking very flat right now. It's looking like it's part of one piece together. And especially now, if we add another clipping mask and change the blend mode to screen, we'll add some highlights as well. And that's going to help. So just to the tops of the ice creams. And I don't think we'll need it on the cone, so I'm going to erase the cone one. But definitely on the top of the ice cream scoops. Let's have these highlights, well, a general highlight. Okay, so if you remove that, you can see the difference it makes having these highlights there, suddenly looking a whole lot more 3D now. Okay, and then for our last step before we move on to the background, we're just going to add in some individual highlights as well to the entire ice cream. So create a new clipping mask and change the blend mode to add. And then this time we can reduce the opacity down to about 60-65% because add is really bright as it is. Now we're just going to use the soft airbrush and have the same color. Well, let's actually change the color a little bit because the gold color, the straw yellow color is going to make it a very saturated light. We're going to use the cone color, which is the second row first color. Okay, and then you can reduce your brush size to whatever works for you. because we're going to add in some highlights now to our ice cream. And then you can take your time with this. You don't need to make entire outlines out of this. This is just to be able to distinguish the individual elements a little bit more from each other. So have fun with this one and take your time. And you can also just spread out some of the highlight as well. It doesn't have to be just as an outline like I mentioned. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice, and I think we're done with adding all of the highlights here. There's really no need for adding too many more. Just a bit here maybe, make it a little bit nicer. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Alright, so we are done with adding in all of these, so the ice cream part is definitely complete. So let's just group our lighting layers together, and we'll just rename this as lighting, and then we're going to turn on our sketch to work on the background a bit. Okay, so to do that, let's go ahead and create a new layer above the background layer, and then we're going to change this layers blend mode to multiply, and then we're going to select this darker peach color, the last color in the color palette, and then also we're changing our brush from soft airbrush to the soft brush, and now we're just painting in a darker gradient on top. So I'm going to reduce my brush size to about 7%. Gives me a better control. But we're just painting in this area here. Just a bit of a gradient like that. I would say definitely extend it a little bit more here behind the softy part. So you've got something like this in place. And then go ahead and apply Gaussian blur to this in adjustments. So this would be about, depends again how much you really blended it, 20% or so. You can add some more if needed, or just blend it some more on your own as well, so that it has a bit more of a textured look rather than a gradient that is very uniform. Okay, I think that's looking nice. Alright, then we're going to add a little bit of a glow behind the ice cream as well. So create a new layer above the multiply layer and change the blend mode to screen. And then we're going to add in with the same color. Just add in a bit of a glow right behind this cone. I wouldn't add too much, just a bit. And then you can just blend it out. You can turn off the sketch as well and have a look. How is it really looking? And adjust accordingly. I think it's looking really nice now. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Right, and then we're going to switch the sketch back on. It's time to add in these soft magic lines, this magical glow around as well. So create a new layer, and then we're going to keep the blend mode as normal, but we're going to go to luminance here and then select the light pen brush. Okay. We're also going to use this ivory color, the Softie color, and then go ahead and just paint in these beautiful glows. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. We can turn off the sketch layer now and have a look. Okay, you might want to reduce the opacity of some of this, so really depends on if you want to. I think I might do that, and we can just experiment a bit here. Maybe try duplicating that and see if it looks nice. I think it looks pretty good if we just keep it as normal. And we can just keep the opacity again somewhere about 70–75%. It's looking good for mine. Really depends on, again, how yours is looking too. So one more thing that we can do is duplicate this, and then for the lower one we can apply a bit of a Gaussian blur to this. So again, go to adjustments, add a bit of a glow to this, so just about 5% Gaussian blur, and you can reduce the opacity of this. And now see as well if you can reduce the opacity slightly from the top one, I'd say about 60%. And with the glow, it's looking really nice. So I'd had about 25% of the glow layer below, and then the top layer is 60%. I'd actually reduce the glow layer a bit more, to about 17% or so. Again, I don't want it to be glowing way too much, so it takes away the focus from the ice cream. So if you want, you can also just turn it down even more. Actually, I might do that. See, this is what happens. you try out things and it all comes out differently sometimes. So yeah, you can have a look and see what works for you. But I'm pretty happy with about 45% on mine and a glow of about 20%. Okay, so that's good. And then for the last step, what we're going to do is just add in some nice dreamy bokeh effect as well. So to do that, create a new layer above both of our magic swirl layers, and then change the blend mode to color dodge. And then again in luminance, select the bokeh lights brush, and we're going to use the peach color, the light peach color that we had for the background. And right now I've got a brush size of about 20%. Just go ahead and paint in some soft bokeh lights. Now again, this step is going to take a lot of iterations to see where you want to place your lights, what they look like, so take your time with this. Add in the lights the best way they look to you. Oops. That's looking pretty nice. So I'm going to reduce the opacity of my layer to about 85% or so. And I would also just go ahead and erase a little bit of these because I feel like there's too much of it and I don't need all of them. All right, that's looking great. And that is our illustration. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for this illustration. I really hope you've enjoyed learning all of these beautiful textures and how to make everything come alive with lighting and shadows and all of these dreamy magical glows and everything as well. So I really hope you've enjoyed these. Thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial. I really enjoyed creating this with you. So if you'd like to share your creation with me online, remember to tag me in your post on Instagram. I absolutely love seeing your versions of the tutorials and sharing them on my page. And make sure to subscribe to my channel, please, if you enjoyed this tutorial. It really helps to grow my channel too. And don't forget to check out my other videos as well. I've got so many more magical projects waiting for you. New tutorials will come out every week on my channel, so hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.